This is CBC Vancouver News.
After a long weekend of travel chaos and turbulence at airports across Canada, WestJet strike action has come to an end. And family and friends of a missing Indigenous woman are renewing calls for information leading to her disappearance more than 2 decades ago. Plus, for the first time, Canada's National Dodgeball Championship comes to BC. Hello, thanks for joining us. I'm Janella Hamilton. We begin with breaking news this evening. WestJet has reached an agreement with its mechanics union to end their strike action. A statement by the company says members of the Aircraft Mechanics Fraternal Association will immediately return to work to restore the airline's operations. This strike has had massive disruptions for travelers this long weekend, leading to the cancellations of more than 800 flights across Canada. The CBC's Sam Sampson spoke with the National's Ian Hannamansing shortly after the news broke.
We're hearing that as about 9:30 Mountain Time, so Alberta time. The AMFA, so the Aircraft Mechanics Fraternal Association, and WestJet have come to an agreement, and that is just breaking news. We just got that moments ago, so I've got my notes here. Bear with me. Essentially, they came to the table for the first time since June 27th. This is huge news. This means that the workers will go back to work immediately. WestJet, they definitely had according to their statement on their website, just said that the damage to Canadians and our airline is massive. A swift resolution was necessary. Here's the thing, we didn't know if this was going to happen because the federal labor minister asked the Canada Industrial Relations Board to impose binding arbitration, but that did not prohibit the union from striking, and so they striked anyway. And so then we were in uncharted territory. Looks like, according to WestJet, this statement, the two parties came to an agreement through mediation.
So this statement coming out just a short while ago, Sam, that the WestJet strike is over. Do we have a sense now, and I know you're literally reading the statement as you're live on the air, but do we have a sense now as to when all flights will be resumed? Because, of course, there have been lots of cancellations and some cancellations that affect flights in the future.
Well, it's a great question because as much as staff are returning back to work, it says that with today's news, the airline will begin to work to restore operations in a safe and timely manner. What that means, we do not know. We know that they had to park 130 aircraft at 13 airports across Canada, so we don't know when regular service will resume.
More evacuation alerts have been issued for the Yukon due to increasing wildfire activity. Officials say residents of Mayo and Keno City should be prepared to leave at a moment's notice as the out-of-control Roaring Forks wildfire creeps closer to the communities. Roaring Lake is the third fire of note in the central Yukon region. Wildfire crews are also continuing to fight the Wrong Lake fire and the Haldane Lake fire. The BC Wildfire Service says hot, dry conditions in the area, in addition to lightning storms this weekend, are causing new starts and complicating efforts to address existing fires. BC has deployed 12 initial attack crews and 1 air tanker to help in the fight. There are severe thunderstorm watches in place this evening for the BC interior and northeast. The warning covers the Kamloops area into the lower Chilcotin, as well as from Chetwynd up to the Northwest Territories. Thunderstorms are expected to stick around in the interior until at least Tuesday. Environment Canada is advising people to be prepared and to find shelter if a storm approaches. BC Hydro says roughly 1,400 people near 100 Mile were without power for about an hour tonight. It is not yet confirmed if it's due to the severe weather in the region. All right, let's take a look at what regions will be seeing those thunderstorms in the coming days. Let's begin with the temperatures for tonight. 13 in Fort St. John, 13 in Williams Lake, 13 as well in Kelowna and on the island in Victoria. So it seems like relatively similar temperatures across the board. Moving into tomorrow, we are going to see some sun and clouds with a high of 19 in Dease Lake, 22 sunny and cloudy in Williams Lake. However, places like Fort St. John, Kamloops, Kelowna, Golden, and even Cranbrook, you are at a higher risk of thunderstorms overnight and into tomorrow. And on the island, Victoria, you are going to be a high of 22 for tomorrow with a mix of sun and clouds. Here in Metro Vancouver, we are going to have a sunny Canada Day with a high of 20, but that rain is going to return on Tuesday with a high of 20 as well. It's been more than 2 decades since a young Indigenous Vancouver Island woman disappeared. Lisa Marie Young was 21 years old when she went missing over the Canada Day long weekend in 2002. Today, her friends and family marked the somber anniversary with a vigil. RCMP say they continue to look into new leads to bring Lisa Marie Young home and get justice for her loved ones.
When Lisa first went missing, nobody cared. Nobody did anything, and for years and years, Lisa's mom, Joanne, died thinking society didn't really care about her daughter and she was thrown away. But look at it now. We have involved politicians, the lead investigators on Lisa's file attend every year, and we have a pretty good turnout considering it's 22 years.
Her family says they have never stopped searching for Lisa. There have been at least 6 searches in recent years, including this past year. Investigators and her family members say it would take only one individual with the right information to help bring justice to this mystery. While July 1st marks Canada Day for many, the day has another meaning for people who are from Hong Kong and currently living in Canada. It is the day the former British colony was returned to Chinese rule in 1997. Traditionally, it is a day of protest for pro-democracy groups, but that changed once the national security law was put in place, silencing opposition voices. Pinky Wong tells us why some are protesting or have brought their protest here to Vancouver.
Fight for freedom!
Dozens of protesters rally outside Metrotown SkyTrain station to raise awareness about what's happening in Hong Kong. Canadian resident Vanessa Law was living in Hong Kong when the national security law was enacted in 2020. Shortly after, she decided to return to Vancouver.
People are basically silenced, so there are no protests at all because once you try to organize a protest, you get arrested. So I don't plan on returning to Hong Kong.
Many at Sunday's protest covering their faces because they say they fear the introduction of Article 23, a new national security law in Hong Kong, could impact their lives here.
The number of people who came out to our protest has declined. Some of them have told us they're worried about them being identified by China. Even though they're now in Canada, it doesn't mean that they're now really enjoying fully their freedom of speech.
Article 23 was passed in an opposition-free legislature in March. The new law expands the government's power to stamp out challenges to its rule, punishing treason and insurrection with a maximum sentence of life imprisonment. It also allows for trials to be held behind closed doors. UBC social work professor Mu Chong Yan wants Canadians to see Canada Day differently.
Canada is an immigration country. Everyone bring their own history and also their baggage with them. Okay, so while we are celebrating and proud of what we are, in the meantime we also need to be very vigilant and aware of how other people's experience of July 1st in their home country.
Since 2021, Canada has rolled out pathways to make it easier for Hong Kong residents to work or study here. As of last April, more than 3,100 temporary residents from Hong Kong have become permanent residents in Canada. Pinky Wong, CBC News, Vancouver.
Today is the deadline for local governments to change zoning rules to make it easier to build townhomes, multiplexes, and laneway houses as part of Bill 44. Bill 44, which was introduced in November last year, requires municipalities to rezone in order to increase small-scale, multi-unit housing. The cities of Richmond and Coquitlam had earlier requested an extension ahead of the deadline, citing a need to improve infrastructure. Coquitlam City Council voted last week in favor of asking for a one-year extension due to significant concerns with infrastructure capacity. The District of Tofino is the latest community to receive Bear Smart status. It's a conservation initiative aimed at reducing human conflicts with wild animals. Last year, more than 600 black bears were killed by conservation officers, a record high number. And they say the number one reason is because the wild animals became used to finding garbage left outside.
Since putting in the new waste management system, with lockable containers, bear-proof containers, and now, with those containers being tethered to something that's immovable, we've seen the bear conflicts go down to very few. And in fact, there has been no bears having to have been euthanized.
Port Moody received its Bear Smart status last week. Other Bear Smart communities include Port Hardy, Squamish, Kamloops, and Coquitlam. After many months of anticipation, Water Street in Gastown has been transformed into a pedestrian-only zone just in time for the long weekend. It comes after construction to Maple Tree Square saw massive revenue loss for businesses in the area. But with the construction now wrapped up, visitors and shop owners are optimistic about the future.
I love it. I think that Vancouver's needed a thing like this, a car-free street with good vitality like this for a long time. I think there's a couple of streets in Vancouver that could be good candidates. I think this is the best one. I just love it.
I have my own small business in the area, and I also work at a local restaurant. We did a similar thing in St. John's, Newfoundland, where I'm from, and it was wonderful for local businesses. The stores brought out their fare so people could shop on the street. So it's I'm optimistic. Hopefully this follows suit and it does well for businesses, because it's been a rough year for local businesses.
It should have been done maybe 20, 30 years ago in Europe, in Mexico. Every street, they put people first. And so here the car's kind of king. And so we're way behind the world when it comes to pedestrian streets.
We as pedestrians, we love to walk slowly and watch the stores and maybe have something to eat, something to drink. And so it's great.
I got up and I ran from the hotel, just kind of did a little jogging. I call it slogging because I don't go very fast. And I ran down here the first morning and I was like, hey, this is a place that we need to go and visit. I picked up on it quick because I felt safe running in the middle of the street.
It's been really cool. We've walked around all over the place.
Where we live, we could use a car-free zone.
I think it's great. I think you should get out of your cars more, take transit.
I think it's going to be transformational for the neighborhood and for the city. I think it's going to change how people think about Gastown, and I think it's going to bring more people down to Gastown, and I think it's going to change how people feel about Vancouver.
Yeah, keep it up, y'all. Keep it up. This is good.
For the first time, Canada's National Dodgeball Championship is being hosted in BC. Surab Sandhu was there.
Richmond's Olympic Oval was taken over by athletes competing in Canada's most elite dodgeball competition this weekend. Byron Wong says dodgeball is more than just a school sport.
We all grew up playing this sport in high school or elementary school, just throwing balls at each other. When you put a bunch of adults that are very competitive in this kind of sport, things just kind of change. There's strategies that kind of develop from it.
Wong's team is one of the 55 from across Canada competing at the national tournament. He says he's noticed more teams from BC taking part this year compared to 5 years ago.
There was only 2 BC teams that qualified. Now there's 5 qualified teams in BC, and we're all, qualifying to be in the top 16 in the nation.
Over the 3-day tournament, 33 men's and 22 women's teams will be vying for the national title, with some teams coming from as far as Prince Edward Island to compete. Previous championships were held in Montreal, Edmonton, Toronto, and Halifax. This is the first time the Dodgeball National Championship has taken place in BC. Organizers say it's a sign of sport's growing popularity.
I can think back to when it first kind of reiteration of the national championship was very small, 10, 15 teams, and now you're looking behind me at 550 athletes competing to call themselves the best in Canada.
He says some of the players at this year's tournament also represent Team Canada. That team will be traveling to Austria in August to compete on the international stage.
In 2022, the World Championships were held in Edmonton, Alberta. Canada came home with 2 gold medals and a bronze. So we're always competing for medals. We're always pushing the envelope.
Booth says dodgeball is an expensive sport that allows players to have fun and connect with others socially. The tournament wraps up on July 1st. Saurabh Sadhu, CBC News, Richmond.
For many, Nintendo brings back fond memories of gaming, including for a super collector in Victoria. Take a look.
I thought I'd feel a little bit of regret, but I'm happy seeing it here, and I'm happy knowing that other collectors might be able to get those games that otherwise they wouldn't be able to lay their hands on or whatever, right? So it makes me happy. My name's Cullen, and this used to be mine. So yeah, that's why I'm here today. I think I've been collecting for roughly 15 years, maybe a little longer. And it started off just, getting the ones that I wanted and things like that. I bought about 70% of the collection at this store here. So that makes me kind of happy that it's actually coming back to this store. I could sell it online, but I want it here.
The North American catalog for N64 games should be around 662, just slightly above 660 cards for the official license releases. And then again, we have all of those but one stadium events, and then we have all the a lot of the unlicensed cards and all the PAL exclusives and everything that wasn't released in the North American market. So it's not something you come across very often, especially here on Vancouver Island. Most people who are collecting these don't let go of the full set, right? Yeah, super rare. We've been open for 14 years and we've never obtained a full NES set, nothing even close to it.
Well, the console kind of revolutionized the gaming industry because back in the early 80s, the Atari kind of tanked. So when the NES came out, it breathed new life back into the video game market. It's just part of pop culture. Like it's the 80s. Period. Like it's just the 80s, right? Well, and 90s too, but like it was the most popular thing for its time period and still got a lot of love. And the games still hold up for the most part. My favorite one that I'm kind of sad about getting rid of is Gunnack, and actually it's a really hard one to find. It's one of the best shooters on the NES, and yeah, I'll find it again. No, I've had my turn with them. It's time to move them on.
Still to come, we'll take you to Lytton, where homes are still being rebuilt 3 years after a devastating blaze tore through the town. 3 years have passed since wildfires wiped out Lytton, destroying hundreds of homes. Politicians vow to rebuild, but has progress been made? Yvette Bren finds out.
3 years ago, George Brown watched fire consume his community.
They said, you better get your ass home. He said, it's going towards your place.
Like many, he lost everything and had no insurance.
You know, I just sitting there, I didn't even know where to begin.
Those who lost homes found shelter where they could. Ken Pite has lived in a trailer since the fire.
We were living in a powder keg, and we were only going to get through the day if nobody did anything stupid.
The fire that killed 2 people happened the day after Lytton had the hottest day ever recorded in Canada. More than 1,000 fled, some for good.
The village itself that was burned out, is 7 blocks long. So to lose even one makes a huge impact.
Nobody imagined waiting so long to rebuild.
One thing that's surprising is the slowness and the bureaucracy that has to be waded through.
Other communities destroyed by fire have rebuilt. But here, despite more than $174 million in federal and provincial recovery funds, few are home.
There is no magic wand. People are getting back home on a gradual basis.
Part of the delay is the result of discoveries made after the town burned.
So we knew that we were walking on the bones of our ancestors for the most part. Lytton is a storied place.
Burned soil was removed, revealing thousands of artifacts. Archaeological screening and tougher building codes upped delays and costs for many.
We were fortunate that we didn't have any artifacts found on our property.
She was insured and got one of the first of only 15 approved permits.
This place will always be Lytton, and it's got a lot of heart, and we're not going away.
Her house, a long-awaited sign of rebirth. Yvette Bren, CBC News, Lytton, BC.
Here we have a live shot of downtown Vancouver. After the break, we'll take you to Kamloops, where students are finding creative ways to reduce waste. A group of grade 7 students at a Kamloops elementary school have created a compost pilot project. They say they've cut the amount of garbage their school throws out in half. Take a look.
All right, well, it all started when our teachers made us watch some Zooms about climate action projects in order to benefit the environment. Then the 2 grade 7 classes each came up with their own project of their own. And we voted on which one we thought was best, and one of ours was chosen. Well, we started off with the garbage bins, and as we got the program up and running, we asked our janitor, like, how much do we actually go through? And she told us we go through about 17 big bags of garbage per day. And the dumpster we have, like, at the back of the school is full to the brim. And so we were like, that's a lot of garbage. And every day we wheel it out of the boys' or girls' washrooms in order to start our pickup. We're not gonna be able to fill this one up too much, but we're gonna try. So we now have our bin, and this is where we sometimes will check how full these ones are in case we can, fill them more. And then we'll start circulating the school. So we're just gonna head down to the class at the end in order to pick up their compost bins. So we're gonna go into the classroom here.
It feels really good that our whole group is so young and that we're already starting to make a difference in our school. Hopefully this isn't just a one and done thing. Hopefully it can carry on and throughout Kamloops.
I've got the compost bin here. So this is the little bin that we put into this big one here. It means a lot. It's really a great experience of helping our community out.
I think we hear a lot of negative things about climate in our community, and it worries kids sometimes, so having them empowered to start something, own it, have it their idea, and feel empowered to actually make a change and leave a bit of a legacy is a very powerful learning tool for students.
It feels really good to start something like this. The best way to relieve climate anxiety is to take action. It feels good to take action and have a big impact on our school.
That is so impressive. That is your late news for this Sunday, June 30th. Thank you so much for watching. For news at any hour, you can always head to our website at cbc.ca/BC. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a great night.